if they fix the offense, they're national title contenders. That's what Athlon said about, well, actually, that's what a coach said to Athlon about the Dawgs coming into the 2020 season. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. And, I don't think there's any question about that. But that is the question coming into the season. Can Georgia change and really be better on the offensive side of the ball? Something I wrote about on the website last week, talking about Tom Monken and his ability to really ratchet up the scoreboard while he's been a college football offensive coordinator. It's just hard for me to believe that Georgia won't be more productive on the offensive side of the ball. They still will be dealing with some defenses that are going to challenge them. Obviously, Alabama. Florida won't be probably quite as good as they were last year defensively, but they're still going to be good. And then obviously Auburn. So you're going to be challenged in conference games at the peak of those conference games, and those teams are really good. But there were times when Georgia struggled last year against Georgia Tech. I mean, I don't think I have to review every single thing that went on from really the second half of the South Carolina game on. They just didn't feel, nothing felt right, for Georgia. Jake Fromm never seemed comfortable. It was just a big, giant mess. And you could see that Kirby Smart was going to defend his players and to some degree defend the coaches. But they weren't what we've gotten used to. And that's why you saw Georgia going from just blowing everyone out in the SEC East to having tight games with South Carolina, Florida. I mean, whoever it was, it seemed like a knife fight. You lose to South Carolina? I mean, that can't happen. So that's the question coming into 2020. Is Jamie Newman as good as everybody says he is? Of course, I have no idea. He's like a regular quarterback. Those guys make mistakes. They make good plays. He certainly is a different type of quarterback than Georgia has started lately. Justin Fields, obviously similar to Jamie in the way that they can both do things with their legs a little bit better than Jake Fromm could. Although Jake Fromm was not bad with his legs in his freshman season. But this is all about getting the ball to playmakers, taking the offensive line and really zoning in on what it could be and should be. If you looked at what they did against Baylor, that offensive line is basically who you're going to have coming in this fall. That was not a bad offensive line. It worked out pretty well for Georgia. But are there going to be more plays made from the quarterback spot? In the Sugar Bowl, you didn't have DeAndre Swift. He played like 2 downs. So the running backs that you saw with Zamir, obviously Kenny McIntosh, Brian Herrien didn't play in that game from my memory. So you've got a lot of new players coming in. You talk about Kendall Milton. How good is James Cook going to be? Is he going to be in between the tackles at all this season? It certainly didn't seem like he was at all last year. The pieces are there. But let's just Jake Fromm did not play well the last half of the season. I mean, what happened the first half against Georgia Tech? I mean, Georgia was struggling offensively. That was ugly to watch. New offensive coordinator. How much difference will that make? New offensive line coach. New offensive line. Could things get worse? Things can always get worse. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. But, things should get better, if we're being honest. George Pickens had a breakout Sugar Bowl. Zamir White had a breakout Sugar Bowl. The offensive line really did look good. You're adding tight ends that are going to be difference makers. Okay, certainly with Darnell Washington. We will see what happens with McKitty, Fitzpatrick, Godey, and Seether. But they've got, at a minimum, Washington, a guy that can really change the ball game just at tight end. So, and then the receivers that are the newcomers, and the 2 spots you can really make a difference, okay, on an offensive side of the ball without, just right away. Running back, receiver. And so tight end would kind of fall in that category. If you're depending on an offensive lineman to come in and play, you might have some problems. Same thing with a freshman quarterback. Those are the spots you do not want to have newcomers at. But like a DB, wide receiver, running back, you can punch those guys in there. That's what Georgia's doing on the offensive side of the ball. You got, boom, immediately on the receiver front, Rosemy, Burton, Smith, Robinson, McConkey. McConkey, a different type of, receiver than we've seen in the recent past from Georgia. And, what will this change all mean for Robertson? I mean, is Blaylock going to be healthy? There are a lot of questions for Georgia. But I think in this season coming into it, they've got a guy in Todd Monken who understands how to score points. And if Georgia were able to move up their, points per game average, say just 5, that would make a huge difference for the defense. The defense is dominant. That's not something you need to worry about. But as the unidentified coach in Athlon said, if they fix the offense, they're national championship contenders. It's really up to Todd Monken. I mean, Kirby's done his part. He's made the change. Now it's up to the kids on the team and the offensive coordinator. Let's just see what happens. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. I want to get you ready for the 2020 season. Click right there. You will see a slew of videos that will get you ready, all sorts of breakdowns. Fall will be here before you know it. That's why you should be clicking on that video.